Crown Money, where we show you how to pay your home loan off in up to half the time of a normal bank loan.
Welcome to the Crown Money podcast. I'm Jessie Edge, joined by Scott Parry, and we have a very special guest with us today, one of our wonderful clients, Jackson. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
So the J
Awesome.
Train, mate, you came on board with Crown in 2017, I think. So I remember sitting in your house with you, Kat, back in the day. This was before Zoom, before COVID. These were the good old days where I used to
Wait, you actually saw face to face? You actually met in person? My God.
Yeah.
It was actually extremely random. I still remember it because I got this random phone call. It was from Scott or his team basically saying, "Oh, can we come out and just have a chat to you about stuff?" And I was so busy at the time. And normally with those sorts of things, you just pass it off and you go, "Oh, well, I'm not going to entertain this phone call." And I said, yeah, come out on that day. That'll be fine. No problem. And they rocked up at the doorstep and I was like, "Who's at the door?" They came in, they spoke about it, and then we sat down, and arguably it was probably the best meeting we've had, and very lucky that we did it. But typically you would just pass those sorts of things off and go, "There's no way I'm letting these people in my house." But it was very much a stroke of random luck, but it definitely worked in our favour long term. But it was, yes, very, very much old days and something that could have never happened.
Definitely. No, I remember it was a good drive out of the city. And so my fear during those days where I used to go see clients in their houses where you drive an hour, knock on the door, no answer. It's just heartbreaking. Peak hour traffic, you've literally an hour in, you got an hour like hike back into the city. And so the fact that you answered the door for me was just the win in itself. And then from there, I remember sitting down with you and Kat, and you guys were obviously a lot younger back then. Life before kids, it was clean, it was simple. And we just started sitting down. It's like, "What do you guys want?" And you're like, "Well, I just want to pay this house off." And so where have you got to since that meeting in terms of like moved? You've obviously had a few property transitions. So yeah, love to hear your story since that meeting and what you've changed financially.
Yeah, I guess pre-meeting for us, financial pressures were not great. It definitely had its strengths on the relationship, had its strengths on what we're able to do from a day-to-day point of view and general lifestyle. We probably had no idea what we were doing in terms of budget, how we were managing our lifestyles, how we were progressing. We'd made some major mistakes. I'm pretty sure we had 2 cars that we had on a ballooning loan, which was arguably one of the worst things that we'd ever done. In context now, the home loan was set up very, very poorly and our budgeting was horrible, really. So I guess for us, the best thing was, the first 12 months was dipping our toes in the water and getting a clean understanding. And it was a massive account shuffle that we were probably very scared by and worried for it. I know my partner, Kat, she definitely gets very nervous about those sorts of things. And even for her personally, it's now for what it was, which she was like, worried about. She just says to me, "Oh, you worry about the finances and I trust you." And to have that level of confidence and change in the way we were to the way we are, especially with, yes, we had our first home, which was a little bit smaller, but we made a little bit of money out of it. And we nearly paid it off. We were borderline. I think we were about 60 grand away from paying it off. And then we upgraded to change the lifestyle. We had a daughter who's now 6, and we wanted to send her to the right school in the right area. So we made that lifestyle change, but it didn't scare us or worry us or affect us in any way because of the way we transitioned from complete unknown to realistically starting to set targets and track things. Like I'm a salesperson by trade, so setting targets and KPIs and all that sort of stuff is just what I do. It's a natural reaction. So I actually personally have my own spreadsheet tracker that I update monthly to say, okay, well, this is where we're at. This is where I'd like to be. And we're well ahead of that target in terms of the own goals that I've set, let alone the goals that the Crown have actually put forward to us. So yeah, we're in a really, really healthy position, and we're very, very grateful to the whole team at Crown and Scott in particular for really that first door knock, because I wouldn't want to know where we'd be if we were still doing things exactly the same way, especially with, a new child came into the picture. Childcare costs $35,000 a year. It's outrageous when you think about it. And we would be very much in especially with the economy the way that it is today, we would be struggling.
You are certainly not in that position now. What was it that made you think, do you know what, I'm going to give these guys a try versus going yourself or going it alone?
Realistically, the way that yourself came in and presented on that first day, reviewing those numbers and understanding that we could be in such a healthier financial position in such a short period of time in comparison to the way we were doing it, which was quite clearly wrong. Gaining that level of understanding really is a game changer. And probably the other thing that people don't really realize is that it's not about, you've got to go on a 2-minute noodle diet and, live day to day. You can still live a very healthy lifestyle. It's more about understanding, okay, what can we do differently and how can we move forward and be better at what we do? For us and for me personally, it's, you have having kids, and for all the parents out there, everyone probably would say the same thing in terms of your first child comes along and you start thinking very, very differently. You start looking at things, the world differently, because you want to make life as easy as possible for them, and you want to make sure that they're set up financially. And, it's little things like, Scott, to your credit, I started putting away money for my daughter because you got me onto the Raise app early on, just from a small conversation we had, because you'd done the same thing. And that level of communication and help, and it's really been very beneficial across the board that you can just pick up the phone, have that conversation, and off you go.
It's been it's been a journey. I think that's one of the things where most families we sit with, and we just had our 24-year Crown anniversary last Friday. So Crown's been going for 24 years, which is it's a lifetime in itself. And how it's progressed. One of the big things which I think we can look back on is like, we're very focused on helping families set their kids up, because every parent wants to know, what can I do to make sure my kids are going to be set for life, because we always want to give them the ultimate leg up. And so what can I do now? And just these small things where you start early, and just with that compounding interest, those raise accounts, whatever accounts it could be, ETFs, index funds, whatever you're using, some people just putting money in a bank account for their child, which I think is pretty crazy because it's not even keeping up with inflation. But to actually just do those small little dollar cost averaging strategies where you put in a set amount of money every week or every month, whatever it may be, and then 5 years later, 10 years later, like it balloons. Like, you pleasantly surprised by how much it's actually compounded out to. And so I look forward to the day where your daughter, our kids were sort of born within 60 days of each other. It was crazy. And so I said, this is what I'm doing. Then he's like, okay, I'm going to do what you do. And so these kids, like on that day, wherever we decide to say, hey, this is what we've got stashed away for you in this raise account, like that's the ultimate gift, is to say, here's a deposit for a house, or here's an investment for your first business, whatever it may be. But because we started them so young, and that's where I think most parents just aren't educated or told, like, you should just put a little bit of money, $10 a week, $50 a week, whatever it is you can afford, at the very start of their life cycle. And by the time they're sort of 18, 20, 30, we're talking millions of dollars for them to be able to launch on. I'm sure we all wish our parents did that. But that's just the problem. We just don't know what we don't know.
And I think ultimately you have to have your own finances sorted first before you can start thinking about putting money away for your kids. And I always felt that as well. It's like, you have to have your own cash flow sorted. You have to be able to have that surplus to be putting away. And so it's great that you have the program that is designed to get you set up and structured so that you are ready for those next big steps, which is, how do I invest for the future? How do I take care of my kids? How do I go from there? So it's good. Yeah,
that is such a good point, Jess, where everyone wants to invest for their kids. The number one barrier to that is like, I don't have enough money. Like, that's number one. Like, I need to worry about me now. And so once you sort of feel, I'm back in control financially, that's probably one thing most people, when they first speak to us, feel, it sort of sounds a little bit control. Like you said, this is not about living on bread and water. This is just about working smarter, be conscious about your spending, tracking, measuring everything, and thereby just performing better with what you've got, optimizing it and automating it. And so when you've got all that in place, like, you know what, I've actually now I've created surplus because I'm being smarter with my money, and some of that surplus I can snap off for the kids to help set them up and do the right thing by them. And I'm sure that they'll look back and go, oh my God, thank you so much. But more importantly, the same money management systems and habits that you guys have been running with, they're watching and they're starting to see like, oh my God, my mum and dad are debt free before I even finished school. 50% of Australians don't even retire debt free, let alone before the kids finish school.
It's a big impact.
Huge, like huge. You don't have, every 23 days I sit with a client and say, you paid your house off today. Like what their world looks like the minute they don't have a mortgage payment with all their income to go to wherever they want. Like it's massive, not only the family, but also the kids' financial future and what they can do to set them up. So let's talk about your results, Jess.
I was very excited to hear this. Yeah. So Jackson, how much have you paid off in the last 12 months?
I think the last 12 months would be to tick over a couple $100,000. So it'd be a decent number. It's probably been, it's hard because obviously, you know, income definitely has a major play, and not everyone's going to be earning same levels. But for us, where we started and typically where, you know, I was situated and where Kat was situated in terms of what we were earning to where we've been able to build ourselves to that, you know, that's work on yourself and make sure that you get better at what you do so that you can get the best and most out of yourself from an income point of view and think outside of the box. You know, for me, since having Mads, I started sort of thinking very differently in terms of how can I bring in more income? And people realistically, I don't think they understand that, you know, you watch a lot of things now that social media is at your helm and the age old thing of, you know, your 9 to 5 does fund your life, but your 5 to 9 is realistically what funds your lifestyle. And it can be a game changer. You know, for me, yes, I have a typical income, I have a typical wage, but at the same time, I definitely do things that help us bring additional income in. And what people don't realize is that if on a Thursday and a Friday afternoon in the summer, instead of going to the pub or out to dinner and spending $300 on a Thursday and Friday afternoon, go and mow the bloke's lawns that's going to the pub that doesn't have time to mow his lawns, make an extra $300, and then you can go and do what you want on the Saturday. Go spend that $300 and live your lifestyle, but it doesn't impact your general savings and your general day-to-day. And that's what's realistically had the biggest impact on our lifestyle and given us a huge level of freedom, because what we earn can typically go towards what we are doing on a savings level and paying off our day-to-day. But what we play with and what we entertain ourselves with, well, that's where we earn additional income, where we can on the side. And, you know, for us, we've had major lifestyle changes over the last 6 months because my partner stepped away from working for the man, and she started her own business, which is still in the building phase. So we've definitely had a halt on finances from her additional income, but we've been in a position where we've been able to take that gamble, and it's been huge on her lifestyle. But at the same time, while it's still got a lot of work to do, it's, you know, it's looking positive and it could be successful, and it may not be, but if it funds a really healthy lifestyle for her, it doesn't need to set any records because we're in a position that we can afford to do so. But I think the everyday punter's just realistically got to understand that, yes, you know, go and fight for a little bit more from your everyday, but your everyday job is not going to reward you long term, and you need to start looking left of field in order to realistically help fund your lifestyle. And that's what we did. And it's been a huge tick in the right direction. And look, I couldn't tell you how much we've saved over the 7 years with Crown. It's probably a fairly ridiculous number because we obviously sold our first property and went to the next. Realistically, I think our current number is trying to tick off the home loan within the next 2 years. My goal target is 12 months. So, and I think we're going to tick that box pretty comfortably, to be perfectly honest. So we're in a really, really good spot. And yeah, we wouldn't be there if we didn't, you know, sign off with Scott to begin with.
I've got some data here because I love the numbers. A little bit of a nerd, but these are the sort of numbers where I sort of look at them and I'm going, like, there's not many people who would actually believe like this to be true. And so Like when we do bring this up, I'd just love you sort of to look at that and have basic a review to make sure you're seeing what everyone else is seeing. Where we sit is we're trying to get you out there as fast as we possibly can. You're doing that and some. And so when I show you these figures here, and I love the graph at the best of times, you're going to be able to see what life was like with CBA, and then also what life's like now. And so just bring them up on the screen. I said I geek out on this sort of stuff. So this is a quick snapshot of your numbers. You can see that okay?
Yep. Yeah, I can see that perfectly fine.
And so how much have you paid off your house in the last 12 months?
As I said, it'd be over 200 in the past 12 months.
200,000?
Yeah.
Jesus. That, what were you paying off your loan with CBA previously per year?
Lucky to be a couple of grand.
Yeah. So you've gone from CBA, you're paying, I've got the exact numbers here, you're paying $11,700 a year off your mortgage. Basically on the 12 months I ran, it was $161,492 off your mortgage. That's only a 1,270% uplift. Average debt reduction per month. Can you see what that is?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks good.
Mate, it's past good. Like this is like, like we've done this for 24 years. There's not many of our clients paying that figure off your mortgage every single month, $13,457 a month off the principal. And so, yeah, I think from where you sit, you should be so proud of what you've achieved. You're going to own your house in the next year or two. My question to you is, what changes? What's different? You've got all your income now. You've got no mortgage. What are you doing? How's your life change?
Oh, well, obviously it gives us a huge level of freedom. You know, we don't have to look. We don't stress now, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, that's good.
There's absolutely zero level of stress now. As much as I watch the numbers like a hawk, I don't sit back and go, oh no, I'm worried this week about finances, because I know the position that we're in. I think we've been in a holding pattern for the last sort of 3-4 months, just because of obviously certain things with the business, but you know, the way sort of my income works, a lot of it can come in quarterly. So that could change probably by tomorrow pretty aggressively, but the freedom's already there. For me, my brain goes in a different direction. It doesn't necessarily go towards, oh, you know, the house is paid off. Let's just bank the money and see what we do. Like I'll be thinking about other investments and where we can start investing the money. That's already been happening, as Scott's sort of aware, over the last 12 months. We've just been sort of ticking away, waiting. But the simple fact that, you know, it's nice to be able to say you don't owe the bank anything. That's the biggest thing. And you're not paying interest. You're not giving away money for no in particular reason. To have that income going back towards your pocket is obviously a very nice thing. And then if you can utilize that extra money to be going towards investments to help build on not only your own future or retirement and all the rest of it, but realistically, I don't really worry about myself. For me, it's really just doing everything for the girls. And if I can set my daughter's future up, that's the most important thing. But the other thing as well that we're looking at is, well, you know what? Why aren't we sending her to private school? You know, why aren't we letting her, you know, why aren't we buying houses now for her for the formidable future? And these sorts of things is what we try to look at. But yeah, will life change or lifestyle change? No, we won't really do anything differently. We're not overly extravagant people. We don't care about fancy furniture in the house. We don't, you know, I'm never bothered by the little things, and the family sort of flows that way too. So we're not going to make any immediate changes. We'll just keep living life the way we do. And the extra freedom will certainly be a major improvement in terms of mentality. So it's good.
What I'm hearing there is like, sorry, I was just going to say, what I'm hearing there is that you've got choices, right? Like you can literally choose whatever you want to do next. And your choice is, I want to build generational wealth. Like that's what I want to do. That's my legacy, is setting my family up for their family and on. So I love that. I just love the idea of you're going to be debt free in 2 years, probably 12 months if you'll get your goal. And then you've got the choice to do whatever you want, whenever you want. And that's amazing.
Just out
Yeah,
of
no, it's good.
curiosity, I know you should never ask this question. How old will you be when you pay your house off?
If I get it my way, I'll be, it should be before I turn 38. So I'm only 36 at the moment. I turn 37 in November. So I will hopefully have it ticked off before I turn 38. So that's probably going to annoy a lot of people that do watch it because I'm under the age of 40, but it's achievable. That's the main thing. And, we did, I can say, like, we didn't go buy a $500,000 home. It wasn't a cheap house. So we certainly stretched ourselves a little bit when we first did it, but looking back at it now, it wasn't really a stretch. So it's been good. And that's the next thing, 10 years from now, we might turn around and say, you know what, we want to uproot our lifestyle again to another new home. And we could probably do that without even asking the bank for money, which is realistically the ultimate goal.
Yep. There is zero risk with not having any debt and not owing anyone. You and I have spoken many times, Jackson, about how much interest people pay, and obviously it's the biggest hurdle to people getting ahead financially, especially with this economic season of winter coming up, which I see rates are going up, unemployment's going up. That's usually not good for the everyday Australian. And so to be insulated from that and not have a mortgage, and it doesn't matter what rates are doing, doesn't matter what property is doing, because your cash flow is your cash flow. You don't have to pay 30 to 40% towards a mortgage, which is what most Australians are averaging. 30 to 40 cents of every dollar they earn goes to the bank. And then from there, they've got to make do with the rest there. So to have all your income to create wealth for obviously your daughter, and then more importantly, be able to give you that freedom to say, yeah, do you know what? I don't know if I need to be working 5 days. I might work 4. I might do a passion project. I might do this. I might travel, whatever it may be. Anything that you would say to those people who are listening, who are sort of on the fence, like, man, it sounds good, but maybe too good to be true. What would you say to that person?
Look, realistically, it's first and foremost is take the leap. There's a lot of, we understand, obviously social media, there's a lot of different programs out there, and some of them are fraudulent, some of them are not. But the first thing I will say is obviously that it is a real program. I've seen real results, and it's certainly changed my lifestyle and my family's lifestyle. Probably the only advice that I would ever give to people in order to accomplish the goals is stop worrying about what other people think, because what other people think will never help you achieve your goals. They don't care about what car you drive. They don't care about the clothes you wear. They don't care about, we're going to entertain people. We better make sure we've got all the brand new furniture and the house looks perfect. Do you know what? Like, it doesn't matter. But realistically, what other people think of you does not matter. Realistically, the only thing that matters is what you think of yourself and how you can protect your family, because living a lavish lifestyle when you got no money behind you doesn't accomplish anything. So I'm not saying live below your means. I'm not saying you shouldn't go and enjoy life and do things, but you don't need to impress others. Get your goals right, accomplish your goals, do the right things by yourself and your family, and long term, you'll thank yourself for making that change. But, look left of field. And as I said, if it means mowing lawns, if it means driving Uber, if it means going and coming up with any side hustle you possibly can, go and do it, because it changed my life. It was huge in terms of changing my life. Now, this was obviously a major incremental change, but this just helped me turn around and say, well, I don't need to skimp on things this week, or I don't need to live by a tighter life. So there's a lot of things that you can look at very differently. But, for me, I'm a relatively driven person. I work in an industry that is pretty high paced and always keeps you on your toes. And I'm very fortunate that I work for a family company that supports me very, very well and treats me like family. And I'm very fortunate. But, not everyone's going to have that. But don't ever sort of restrict yourself that there is a barrier, life's never going to get better. Because if you make subtle changes or you just take a little leap to go, you know what, I've got to give something a go, it will make a huge, huge difference long term. Best thing about it, Scott, too, it doesn't not give you the time. He will always, and you know, a lot of these programs that turn around, oh, come and sit in on the event. We'll tell you exactly what's going on. We'll charge you 10 grand to do it. And you know what you learn? Exactly what Scott's puts in your lap and does everything for you. And it doesn't cost you anything, realistically. Like, it costs you nothing. It costs the banks, but it doesn't cost you. So take the leap, because all these other programs that are out there, they're trying to accomplish the same thing. But you're going to have to pay for it. And you won't get the guidance or the support that the guys at Crown are going to give. And I can sort of say that wholeheartedly, because it's been just 9-year journey or something like that. And yeah, it feels like it's been 3, but it's just flowed quite simply and very easily. And the guys have been very good, and they've put up with me I can be quite a hard ass sometimes, and I can be a little bit difficult if I don't understand, and they've been patient with me and helped me get through that level of understanding. So it's very, very good, but you've just got to get out of your comfort zone. Stop being so comfortable, because it will impact yourself or your family or your lifestyle, and change is always a good thing. And if you don't step outside your comfort zone, you'll never see change, and you'll be in the same position 10 years from now.
100%. Couldn't have said it better myself. Jesus,
Yeah.
That was brilliant. What I take away from that is you've tried the cheap rate offset account that the bank and the broker's been trying to sell you. You've tried that strategy ever since you bought your first house. Look at you. Look at your position. You're not moving the needle. You're not paying your house off by the age of 38. And so we've been doing this for 24 years. It's a real well-oiled machine now. We know exactly how to get the result. It's very similar to how a personal trainer gets a result. Accountability, structure, education, tracking, measuring. You put that into the money field, all of a sudden you're starting to get some results, just like you get results when you use a personal trainer at the gym. So for those people who you've tried doing it yourself, you've listened to your bank, you listen to your broker, you're taking advice from people who are financially incentivized to keep you in debt. The longer you're in debt, the more they make. I'm not too sure if you've worked that out yet. And so that is exactly like you go to McDonald's and asking them for nutrition advice. McDonald's don't want you healthy. They just want you eating more McDonald's. So who you take advice from is very important. What's their ulterior motive? What do they want out of this? And I'm not saying banks or brokers are bad people. That's just all they've got access to. And they're not in the game of getting you out of a mortgage. Their game's getting you into it. No one gets paid when you get out of it.
Their game is to make as much money for their shareholders as they possibly can. And they are doing their job. So you think you're going to go do your job? Your job is to go and build a fence. And that's what you've got to do to appease your employer. Well, it's exactly the same thing for the banks. The people that are there, they've got to appease their board members, their shareholders. So they've got to squeeze every penny. And you know who that's coming from? You. So if you don't go and make adjustment, you'll just keep feeding it into their pockets. And I can tell you, these investors or stakeholders or shareholders within every single bank are not shy of a penny, and you just keep handing it over to them hand over fist, because you're making the same old mistakes. And look, I've made mistakes, and Scott can attest to this, because we both made it. We invested in crypto. I lost some money, and, you know, I copped it. I'd probably be in a better position if I didn't do so. But if you don't make mistakes, you'll never learn. And I'm glad I made it. It doesn't bother me. It was, you know, have a crack, you know, we'll see what happens. And you either win or you lose sometimes. But if you don't give it a crack, you'll never, you've got to learn from mistakes. And I can tell you, the biggest mistake you're making is the way you're doing things at the moment, because you need to make a change.
100%. The saddest part about this is so many people like trust the big banks. Like you're trusting a company that's making $10,000 million a year profit after all their expenses, after all their leases, all their wages, $10,000 million a year. That's just one bank. That's not all banks in Australia. One crazy stat for you, just to finish on, is Australia has 4 of the top 8 most profitable banks on planet Earth. Do you know how many banks are on planet Earth? We've got 4 out of the top 8 most profitable. So like Jackson said, you're paying that. You're helping that. If you're just sitting there on your cheap rate offset account on your 30 loan, yeah, it's you're feeding the meter, unfortunately. So, mate, thank you. Congratulations, dude. To own your house at 38 is just unbelievable. I couldn't be more happy for you. Such a great guy. you're all about helping others, which is it's even more beautiful. And thank you for sharing your story. And hopefully someone out there can go, do you know what? He's right. Maybe we've got to try something different. I always say to people, try it for a year. Your worst case scenario is you go back to the cheapest offset account in Australia and you keep doing your own thing. Like that is your worst case, is you get a cheaper offset account. Your best case scenario, you own your house in 12 years instead of 27.
No,
Legend,
makes
mate.
a difference. Makes a huge difference. So you just got to give it a crack sometimes. And yeah, as I said, you win some, you lose some. But if you don't try or you don't give it a go, you'll never learn.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jackson. We appreciate it.
Nah, thanks, guys. I appreciate everything. And yeah, we'll see where we're at in 12 months' time.
Yes. That debt-free party is going to be banger. I'm definitely going.
We'll see. We'll see. Very good. Thanks. You. Appreciate it. Have a good day.